morning, everybody. I just got finished editing yesterday's video, and today's very similar to yesterday. Not super busy with appointments, but just kind of busy with a lot of stuff to do. We had a really fun time at trivia last night, and I was actually able to get an Aperol Spritz at the bar because there were a lot of co-workers of Kevin's there, so he was allowed to use his company card. And I technically work for the same company as him, just very infrequently. I do like corporate workout events, so that was lovely. I've got a consultation for a potential new nutrition client. I have a few spots opening up in January. I'm just trying to be proactive, like fill those spots now so that I'm not doing it when we get back from vacation. But in today's video, we are going to talk all about carbohydrates. Like I said yesterday, we're going to take the next, well, we did it yesterday and then today and then tomorrow. So 3 days, and talk about the 3 different macronutrients. Yesterday we talked about protein, today we're talking about carbs, tomorrow we will talk about fat. Now there are 2 main types of carbohydrates, simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates are smaller and easier to break down, and then complex carbohydrates are bigger and harder to break down. Neither one is better than the other, and they're both meant to be consumed just in their proper amounts. But like I talked about in that nutrition Q&A video, things like white rice and getting really demonized just because it's a simple carbohydrate. And then brown rice tends to get pushed because it's a complex carbohydrate. But certain people are going to do better with different things, and there's going to be different situations where you probably want to prioritize either a simple or a complex carb. If you need quick energy, simple is the way to go. If you need longer lasting energy, complex is the way to go. Now, something that you're going to hear people kind of fearmonger are blood sugar spikes after you eat carbs. Because carbohydrates are essentially just sugar, right? Like once they're broken down in the body, it's glucose, it's a sugar. But let me make something very clear. If your blood sugar spikes when you eat carbohydrates, your body is functioning exactly as it is meant to. That is literally what's supposed to happen. And again, as long as your body is functioning properly, you have nothing to worry about that blood sugar spiking, because your body will release a hormone called insulin and it will bring it back down. Now, obviously, there are people with health conditions where this is not the case and their body is not functioning normally. Like I say a lot, I'm not talking to them. And it's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's because those people are not within my scope of practice. I am not an RD. I am not a medical doctor. I have no right to be working with those people. They need to listen to someone who is giving them personalized care and not a random person just explaining what a carbohydrate is on the internet. So the reason why we need carbohydrates is because carbohydrates are your body's main and preferred source of energy. Yes, you can also use fat instead as like an alternate energy source. We're not going to get into that today. It's pretty tedious to explain, and again, I'm not really talking to people who need to go down that route. I'm talking to the everyday person. So just please know that you do not need to cut out carbohydrates or any macronutrient unless you are specifically being told by your medical professional. Period. All right, so I've got about 15 minutes until this consult. I'm just going to read her little eval form, prep for it, and then I need to eat breakfast because it's getting a little late and I still haven't done that yet. But let's go. Such an asshole. Okay, so I've had this company, I'm not gonna say what it is, but they've reached out to me like 7 times to promote their smart scale. Every time I've said like, thank you so much, but I'm not interested. And this last time, they're like, oh, okay, thanks for letting us know. Can you expand on like why this isn't a good fit for you? I just said, I don't weigh myself, so it's not a good fit. And they went on to say, thank you so much for the feedback. To provide more information, Brand is a health management ecosystem made up of data, a smart scale, and My Health as a free companionship app. So it goes on to say that this scale is not regular and it measures 17 body composition metrics that empower our users to understand their bodies simply, beyond simply their weight. And the app allows users to track and trend their progress over time, as well as take action on their health through goal setting, nutrition tracking, and personalized workouts. Here's my response. Thanks for the additional info. Honestly, this is not something that I would promote. I think it's way too much information for the average person. Most of my clients don't even understand how to incorporate a vegetable into a meal, so having all of this data isn't helpful. It seems like it's more for people with incredibly specific aesthetic or performance goals, which isn't my audience or client. Best of luck. Look, it's just one of those things, like, until you master the basics, why are you going to jump ahead and get 17 different numbers, like what is that even telling you, right? Because then also once you master these foundational things, you start to realize that you don't need things like this. You don't need to know that much information. We have to remember that these are businesses and they're built to keep you coming back for more. They are built to keep you reliant on their product. There is no understanding of how to take all of this data and this app and then transition away from it, because I don't want to weigh myself forever. I don't want to track everything that I'm eating forever, but they're not going to help you get out of that because then you're not using their product anymore. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I just wanted to pop on and say that. I also wanted to pop on and say that it's me and Kevin's 4-year anniversary, so that's really fun. I actually have, last year I put up a 3-year anniversary YouTube video where I showed our entire wedding video. I explained how we got it for free. It was just lucky, it was not some kind of hack or anything. I have a nutrition client in about an hour and then we're gonna go on a run. We're literally gonna run a 5K. We're just gonna do it. We're gonna run a 5K. Tomorrow we're gonna do a tiny little 1K recovery run. Saturday I have to teach Chance cardio, so it's not a full rest day, but it's a rest, and then Sunday we're just racing. So today I'm just gonna run a 5K. Run a 5K. Great. Okay, just got done. That was hard. That was not super enjoyable. It wasn't the worst thing in the world though, but it was not great. I actually made pretty good time, but I definitely felt slow, which is to be expected because my breathing from being sick and I haven't trained, but I'm glad I did it. We'll do a small recovery one tomorrow and then the race. We're gonna go upstairs. We're gonna talk a little bit more about carbs as I refuel and make lunch. So as we're cooking our rice for lunch, I want to talk a little bit more specifically about the daily recommended amount of carbohydrates per day. That amount is 45% to 65% of your daily caloric intake. So if you're using like literally any type of tracking device, you can see that pretty clearly. And if you're not, I would simply make sure that you're getting in 1 to 2 servings of carbohydrates with your meals. I honestly don't find that most people are short on carbohydrates because they're fun and they're delicious. If anything, I find that people eat carbohydrates a little bit in excess, or maybe just don't prioritize like minimally processed carbs. So when you're trying to figure out how much you need, start with that range of recommendation and then play with it based off of how you feel. Just remember that the more active you are, the more carbohydrates your body is probably going to need, because carbohydrates are energy, and when you're active, you use energy. It's pretty simple. So let's talk about our food really quickly. Notes for next week, I need to make like double the amount of potatoes that I ate this week because they lasted me literally like 2 or 3 days maybe.
You okay?
Yeah.
Did you scream fuck?
No. Okay, we're back. I definitely just did not prep enough potatoes. I am flying through my vegetables. Like I'm about to make those peas right now. I bought in this grocery order. I know I have some riced cauliflower in there. I think maybe deep I have like a thing of Brussels sprouts. But y'all, the produce is really hard. Also, hold on. Look at this. Look at this bullshit. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is okay, I'll stop now. I'm only saving it to try and eat this end. But that's such bullshit. It was out on the counter for 2 days and went bad. I don't understand. So that's annoying. But speaking of produce, for our grocery shop next week, I think we're going to go on Sunday. No, we're going to go on Monday. We're going to try and go to this like local produce stand in my neighborhood because I do know that across the country, people have local farmers markets, fruit stands, produce stands. So I think that this will be an interesting way to show people how to navigate that if you have access to it. All right, so we're going to eat our lunch and keep on moving with the day.
She went away on Christmas Day. Didn't come back till New Year. He thought everything had changed, but it was all in his head, a sad invention. As soon as I mentioned the boy girl do their own thing, no lonely heart. So go on in, there's wood on the fire.
We're back in the kitchen. So you saw that I was just trying to like map out what food I have and how I can kind of like stretch it and make some balanced meals. It's really not very exciting. It's very much like meat, potatoes, and some kind of disgusting frozen vegetable. But I did go through the freezer and I found a few more vegetables. This is what I have left. This very old bag of cauliflower rice, this bag of Brussels sprouts, and then this little box of Brussels sprouts lightly sauced. Ooh. So that was actually what I was most nervous about, if I would be able to sustain myself until Monday afternoon to go grocery shopping, because I don't really want to do that this weekend. And the answer is I do have enough food. It just is very boring. But honestly, I think that that's just part of this. It's going to be boring. In the meantime, it is 4:45. I'm teaching a stretch class at 6. We're doing some K-pop piano ballads, so I'm very excited about that theme. But then I have a client immediately after, right at 6:45. So I'm not going to be done until 7:30. I will be starving. And I don't, like I said, I did not prep enough of certain things this week. So I'm actually going to chop up some potatoes right now, and we're going to talk a little bit more. The last thing we're going to touch on is portion control. So I'm actually going to give you a few tips instead, just to get more of a proper portion size that serves your needs and your specific goals. The first thing I'm actually going to recommend is a measuring cup. I don't track calories or grams, but I do find that using a measuring cup for carbs is a really good way just to make sure that I'm not like accidentally overdoing it, right? We can put accidentally in air quotes. If you remember a serving of carbohydrates, like the more intuitive method, it's gonna be a cupped palm or a cupped hand. And that is like pretty much the half cup serving, right? So again, I'm not really doing this from a tracking standpoint. I'm literally just doing it. It's more just like my external accountability, so I don't talk myself into having like giant man hands. My next tip is to eat everything else first. You actually saw me do this yesterday? What day is it? Where I actually ate all of my vegetables right off the bat first, and then took the time to enjoy my carbs, fats, proteins, more of the yummy stuff. You know, especially if you're eating on a budget, vegetable preparation probably won't be ideal, AKA you are eating frozen vegetables. If anyone has good tips for frozen veggies, or ones that like don't taste super gross, please let me know. Okay, and then the last tip is kind of controversial and doesn't really work for everybody. But again, all of these tips aren't going to work for everybody, and I'm just kind of like throwing out as much as I can. Hopefully something resonates with you. And that tip is don't keep your kryptonite in the house. Cookies, chips, sweets. For some people, it is worthwhile to see what happens if you don't keep them in the house. Or if they are in the house, try to keep them out of reach. Maybe you put them up really high where you need to get a step stool and then climb on your countertop and then take them out of a sealed jar. Like, you know what I mean? Just make it harder for yourself to get to, because the point isn't for me to say you can't have those things, because you can. Everything is fine in moderation. What I'm trying to do is let your rational brain kick in. Give yourself a second to really ask yourself, is this what I want right now? Because if it's really easy to access, you're gonna grab for those things out of habit, out of emotions, and you're not gonna give yourself the proper time to really just stop and check in. For me, it's sweets, like cookies and stuff. I cannot keep that in the house because it's gonna be gone really quickly. But I'm allowed to have it, because you know what? We live next door to a bodega. So if I want it that bad, I'm gonna put on my pants, get my shoes on, put on my jacket, grab my purse, go across the street, grab my whatever I want. But because I have that many steps and that many obstacles in my way, it slows me down and gives me a second to catch up and think. And I personally find that most times I don't go grab the thing that I wanted in that moment, but then sometimes I still do. And again, that's the point, just checking in and slowing down to see what you actually need and want in the moment. Okay, we have a lovely little background here. Let's check our donations. We are at, oh, we're so close, $2,923.68. We are so close to $3,000. That's so awesome. All right, so that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow, we're gonna talk all about fats. We're gonna round it out with our final macronutrient, and then we're gonna branch out from there, talk about some other topics, hopefully keep making some stuff that is helpful and relevant. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not doing exactly the same thing every day, because I know that gets a little boring, but I do have to work. So we're trying to balance. All right, thank you guys as always for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.